16 years ago, I warned against the invasion and occupation of Iraq. I said it would set off a spiral of conflict, of hate, of misery and desperation that would fuel the wars and the conflict and the terrorism and the misery of future generations. It did, and we are still living with the consequences today of that decision in 2003.
Let's talk to Rachael Maskell, who's in Leeds. Rachael, I hope you heard that. You've probably heard it anyway from Jeremy Corbyn. Do you agree with the Labour leader that there is a connection between what happened on Friday at London Bridge and the invasion in the Iraq War?
I don't know in this individual case whether there's a direct correlation, but we do know we live in a very fractious and dangerous world at this time, and Jeremy was setting out his proposals to take a new approach to our international relations, which is absolutely vital if we're going to try and build peace and stability across the world. There are so many relationships that are broken at this time, and we need to invest in our diplomatic services and also our armed forces to make sure that we are there to protect and keep our country safe, but also to advance peace and security around the world.
Right, but Jeremy Corbyn has insinuated that the Iraq War was to blame for this man's vile acts on Friday. I mean, it sounds like he is apologising for what happened on Friday. Surely it is Usman Khan's actions and his alone that are to blame for the attack.
Well, the attack clearly, and obviously it's really tragic what has happened to those injured, to Saskia Jones and also Jack Merritt. Our hearts go out to their families today. But we are very clear that in a destabilised world, of which Iraq was part of that has had serious consequences. And that's why we believe it's really important to build the stability that is necessary.
Including the attack by Usman Khan?
Jeremy didn't make, I was with him yesterday when he made that statement. Jeremy didn't make the direct correlation, but what he was saying is that in the context of a more unstable world, we recognise that there are those individuals like Mr. Khan who are perpetrators of violence, extreme violence and terrorism. And as a result of that, it's absolutely right that we have got the procedures in place to detain individuals, but also to examine exactly what has happened in this situation, what happened to Mr. Khan in prison. Did he go through a complete process around his own behaviours? Why was he released earlier? We need the facts, and therefore we want to take an evidence-based approach to this, not rush into decisions, to make sure that we get things right for the future. It's really important for the national security that this is done in a proper way.
But Jeremy Corbyn said, I warned against the invasion and occupation of Iraq. I said it would set off a spiral of conflict, hate, misery and desperation, and that it is still going, or we're still living with the consequences today. Were there terror attacks before the invasion in Iraq?
Well, obviously there has been risk around the world on a continuous basis, and we have to remember the regime in Iraq itself was a regime of terror at the time of the invasion. However, we have learnt a lot since that process, and Jeremy Corbyn was one of those voices beforehand warning that if we stabilise a situation further, that this could have consequences. And